Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live with NORML. I'm J.M. Padini, the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. It is Friday, April 4th, 2025. You know what that means, friends. We're going to talk about all of this week's cannabis policy and science news, and I'm going to answer your burning questions live. So let's get down to it. Take a quick second. Drop a note in those comments. Let me know where you're watching from if you have any burning questions, and go ahead and hit that like, follow, or subscribe button wherever you're watching so you never miss when NORML goes live. Let's see who's here. Hey, Nick. Welcome back, friend. Good to see you. Hey, everyone who just joined us over on Instagram. Good to see you here as well. Hey, Zach. I hope you've had a good week. It's been a week here. The Virginia General Assembly was back in session this week for Reconvened Day. This is also commonly known as veto session. So that was a long day, longer than expected. Although it did go almost exactly as expected. Procedurally a little different, but still the same outcome. What day was that? That day was Wednesday, the 2nd. I want to see who's watching where. Why is it not telling? It's not telling me. Okay. I shouldn't look at that there. We'll do it some other way. Zach, which state was that? Remind me. I remember reading the article, but it's not. I'd have to go look. There's a lot of states. Tell me in the comments which state that was. Hey, Randy. Good to see you. Welcome back. Hello, Bart. That's what I'm going to call you. It's hard to decide what people's names are and their Instagram IDs. So your name's Bart now. Hey, Bart. Thanks for your question. Bart asks, any word on growing in New Jersey? Well, I do. Yes, I do have word for you, as a matter of fact. We have an action alert for that. Let's see. In New Jersey, we have action alerts for 9 bills in New Jersey. And A846. Bart, I'm going to drop the link in the comments for everyone who's watching, although you won't, unfortunately, you won't see that on Instagram, but listen up. Bart, you can find that in the NORML Take Action Center. You're just going to go to norml.org/act. Click on New Jersey and you'll see it there. Let me see if there are any other personal cultivation, or if it's just one. I see one so far. I see taxes. I see, yes, one. So there it is. You're welcome. I hope you find that. Make sure you share that action alert link with everyone you know, so that lawmakers are getting a lot of communication on this. So far, over 1,400 constituent emails have been sent to lawmakers through our platform in support of S 1393 and A 846, which would allow medical cannabis patients in New Jersey to cultivate personal use quantities of cannabis at home. Thanks for your question. Hey, John. Good afternoon and happy weekend to you. Nick, I love that you brought this up. Also, hello, Lena in Utah. Thank you, Zach, Michigan. Yes, I did see that ruling, which is the case in other states. when it comes to the prohibition on smell being used as the sole reason to search. All right, let's get into Nick's comment and hope that I can wipe these smudges off my glasses that for some reason I can't see literally ever until I start doing this show. Okay, Nick brings up a great point. Nick says, we're pushing for no state stores model in Pennsylvania. So Nick, in Pennsylvania a few weeks ago, there was a co-memo authored by 2 Democrats in the House that indicated they intended to put forth legislation that proposes regulating cannabis, not through adult use cannabis, not through the state's existing model in which it regulates cannabis already, but through an entirely new one. It is owned and operated by the state. That seems absurd that there would be 2 different regulatory models for cannabis in the state of Pennsylvania, one for adult use and one for medical. Or are these 2 Democratic House lawmakers proposing that they would completely decimate the existing medical cannabis program in Pennsylvania, which has like just under 500,000 patients? So is that what they're proposing, that they just totally decimate that program, eliminate patient access, destroy those businesses, and then reconstruct it under the state? Or do they think there should be 2 regulatory models that are entirely different for exactly the same product? Either way, it's a policy proposal that lets us know you don't take this seriously. The reason why we know that is because many states have already explored this, and every single state that has explored this has said, oh no, this would not be a good idea. Because what would it do? It would in fact open the state up to litigation when it required a state employee to sell a federally illegal substance. Anyhow, look, Pennsylvania, if Utah knew this wasn't the right choice, I think you should be able to come to that same conclusion. And to that point, Nick, we've added some delights to NORML's Take Action Center specifically for that. Well, there are some other bills we added some signage for, but let me get you this. Let me find you this sign. Why is it not? Why is it not showing up on here? Is it cached? Is it, oh, here. Where did it go? Where did it go, Pennsylvania? Why can I not find you? There we go. So Nick, this is just for you. I'm dropping it in the comments. Everyone can see it. You can find this on NORML's Take Action page at norml.org/act. If you were to scroll down to the state legislation section for adult use, you will see where it says Pennsylvania, just say no to state-run dispensaries. I'm going to grab that action alert for you as well and drop that in there. And then right next to the action alert itself is a new feature called printable sign. So you can print out this sign that I shared just above the link to the action alert. You can print out the sign. You can put it up on community bulletin boards. You can put it up wherever you're allowed to put it up, and you can share it with your dispensary as well, so they can put it up in their dispensary. There we go. We also have a yard sign for that, in case you want to print yard signs. There may be a Republican senator in the Pennsylvania Capitol who has this yard sign proudly displayed in his office. Just saying. Anyhow, thanks for reminding me about that gem of a proposal, Nick. Oh, you agree with it? No. You wait, I can't see. Sorry, it's so hard to keep up. I have everyone's comments stuck in together. Oh, you say Nick says, I say keep what we have and just switch from medical to adult use. So typically what happens when states expand from medical to adult use, in literally every state except for Virginia, what happens is the state turns on sales at existing operators sooner rather than later, so that consumers can go shop there because it's now legal for adult use, while they also move through the process of licensing, typically licensing new providers as well. Yeah, so it's an asinine proposal, and it's not going anywhere. But still, tell your lawmakers that the state-run model is a bad idea, because it is a bad idea. Hey, Montco. Good to see you here. Oh, I see your comment there. Legalize it now. South Carolina. Okay, I'm going to get to that. Also, about Pennsylvania, there were other memos authored indicating the intent to file legislation to legalize adult use, not under a state-run model. So, which we will, of course, support. Now, listen, if that was the only bill that were filed, or a bill to legalize adult use through a state-run model, we would generally support it as long as it's ending arrests in the state. We're typically going to support it because we're not a business association. That's not really our problem. But this proposal is not well thought out, and it's not how states regulate cannabis. Hey, Chris, good to see you. Hi, Ellie. Thank you, Ellie. Let me know how that goes tomorrow. Hi, Tamara. I see your comment. Thanks for asking. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Legalize it now, South Carolina. I'm sorry that you're starting to hate South Carolina. I think you're in good company. There are a lot of people who are not happy about cannabis policy in South Carolina. Now, to that point, I will say we do have an action alert for South Carolina as S53 has been introduced, the Compassionate Care Act, which would authorize the use of medical cannabis in South Carolina. So please be sure it's there it posted finally. Is it going to post to X? Of course not. But it's on Facebook and YouTube. Anyhow, you can find that at normal.org/act. It's in the map. It's also going to be in the medical cannabis section of that page. Hi, Mike in Anaheim. Now it all makes sense. Got it. Hello. Good to see you, friend. Hi, ma'ams. Welcome back. I will talk about Virginia and what went down. I have another comment about Virginia as well. Raymond says, sure would be nice if Virginia's governor would support what the majority of his constituents want and what both sides of his own assembly have passed. Wouldn't it? But here we are, having just wrapped up, thankfully. Unless there's a special session, please know. Having wrapped up Governor Youngkin's legislative sessions. So here were a number of bills that he vetoed related to cannabis. There were the 2 bills for adult use retail sales. He vetoed those last year. He vetoed them again this year. This was not unexpected at all. It requires a 2/3 majority, supermajority, to overturn a veto. Of course, that does not exist in the Virginia General Assembly, in which Democrats maintain a razor-thin margin, and Republicans will not vote against the governor. So those vetoes stood, as did the veto on the parental rights bill, which really just provides clarified judicial discretion, judicial authority, clarifies some stuff for Child Protective Services. He vetoed that again. I guess he hates keeping families together. And then there was a sentence modification bill that he vetoed last year, and he vetoed that again this year. There were two bills related to expungement. The governor sent down amendments for those. These really came from the clerk's office. They felt like they needed more time. So it pushed back the dates. Now in Virginia, marijuana misdemeanor records have been sealed by Virginia State Police. This is misdemeanor possession and misdemeanor possession with intent to distribute. The problem is that these records still exist and are still widely disseminated by third parties. Most people are not doing a background check through Virginia State Police. They're paying some online company, and those companies scrape the data and just disclose it, even though it's not permissible to disclose it. So when did we start this process? 2020, 2021, one of those years. We started this record sealing process, and people were really helpful with the, well, why don't you just talk to Code America? They'll write you a code. You can't code boxes on the floor in the office. Like, there are computers in Virginia in county clerk's offices that were still running on DOS. And you also, you have to do something with records that aren't electronic. So there's this very large process. I'm sure other states have had similar issues where they're making all these records digital, and they are using code to help make this process smoother, but it's not done. Shocking. So where we are right now is that these misdemeanors are not sealed in court systems or in third-party systems. And there is an automatic deeper sealing process that was set to occur July 1, 2025. Well, that's not going to happen. So now with the amendments on the expungement legislation, the automatic deeper sealing will occur by October 1st, 2026. After state agencies make these system updates, and then petitions for sealing felony possession with intent to distribute records marijuana will be available by July 1st, 2026. They were supposed to be available this year, but they won't be available next year. So that's what's going on with expungement. And then there is one final bill, which is House Bill 1989 in Virginia, that has some really critical improvements to the medical cannabis program. We did talk with the administration before. They had no opposition to HB 1989. And then somehow it came back with amendments, striking the two most important provisions, which is really weird. In all honesty, we don't think the administration had any idea what they were doing. We don't think this because we met with them beforehand and they didn't have a problem with the bill. And then magically there were amendments. Now, somebody else was opposed to this bill, and so we're pretty certain that's where the request for these amendments came from. What the legislature did was reject these amendments. They did so this time using a procedure that is not typical of Virginia, but they put all these bills in a block and they just take it by for the day. And that means that the bills return to the governor in the form that they were passed. So that bill is back before the governor. We're very hopeful that he will continue to support Virginia's medical cannabis patients the way he has all 4 years that he's been in office, when he has signed every single medical cannabis bill that we put on his desk. So that's where we are with Virginia. Ryan asked when Virginia's governor is up for re-election. Well, he is not, but because you cannot run for consecutive terms in Virginia. So he's not on the ballot. Who will be on the ballot this November when Virginia's electing a governor? Abigail Spanberger, former Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, is the Democratic nominee, and Winsome Sears, the current lieutenant governor, also appears to have qualified. Now, Amanda Chase, former Republican senator, she turned in her signatures to qualify. Yesterday was the deadline, and as of shortly before this show, there hadn't been any certified count from RPV, so we don't know if she's actually qualified. But I can tell you that Winsome Sears and Amanda Chase are pretty similar when it comes to cannabis policy, and they are worse than Youngkin. So make of that what you will. When Abigail Spanberger was in Congress, she voted in favor of every cannabis-related piece of legislation that we asked her to vote in favor of. There you go. Hey, Ellie, you can take a look at her grade and smoke the vote. Hey, Kent, I'm going to read your comment live without previewing it, so I hope it's not bad. Kent says, personal cultivation for medical in New Hampshire was not passed. State model for adult use is something they have looked at. Not going to be anytime soon for anything to change. Yep. Kent also goes on to add that Kent believes the medical program is subpar there, and that most patients probably go to Maine for much lower prices for cannabis. Maybe they do. Ryan, this is a question about Virginia, right? Ryan says, what's the law regarding smoking a joint in public? What are the consequences? It's $25 civil penalty if you're 21 or older. If you're under 21, you were subject to other penalties that are like education related. Hi, Samuel. I see your comment, Ryan, and I don't know that support is strong, but he's signed every medical cannabis operations bill we've had before, and we hope he signs this one. Hi, Steve. Steve says, meanwhile, in Alabama, it's almost like elections have consequences. Samuel, thank you for letting me know. Samuel says, I finally made a trip up to Cherokee in North Carolina to visit our one and only legal dispensary in North Carolina. It's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. So this is in Cherokee, which is tribal land, and tribes in the United States set their own laws. And so they decided to legalize cannabis for medical and adult use in Cherokee, which is located inside the state of North Carolina. JR asks, why is an Ohio 8th weight 2.85 grams? I don't know. That's a great question. Anyone in Ohio want to answer why that's weird? Yeah, Ryan, no, I knew what you meant. Hey, everyone that just joined us on Instagram. Let me know if you have any questions. Drop those in the chat, and I will read them. I can't show Instagram comments on the screen, but I can read them to you. So, hey, Ethan. I'm going to show your comment. Ethan, I happened to see Ethan's comment on Facebook and on some post about delivery, and Ethan was surprised to know that delivery was a thing, direct-to-patient delivery was a thing in Virginia. And I said, hey, it's a thing. If you need help accessing it, reach out to us. And Ethan did email, and I responded, and Ethan says, thanks for your info on medical cannabis delivery. Makes me wonder how many other people are unaware that you can get your cannabis delivered even in the rural areas of Virginia. I agree, Ethan, which is why I'm so glad that I saw your comment. and was able to get you that information. So yes, there is delivery in Virginia. It has been in place since 2020, operating without incident. And so if you know anyone who's confused about how that works, we have the information on our website. Hey, Kev. Hi to you in Pennsylvania. All right, let's look at some news. We got some big news. We had some news this week. I know that's not surprising. Hey, people who just joined us on Instagram. This is at the top of my list for you. All right, so Trump tapped someone, sounds terrible, for drug czar, which is the head of ONDCP. And I know you're thinking this is, someone with some sort of expertise in that area who he would choose to oversee the Office of National Drug Control Policy. He tapped Sarah Carter, and Sarah Carter is a former Fox News contributor who has exactly zero formal background in drug policy or public health or law enforcement. Just a former Fox News contributor. So that's a choice. Carter is awaiting confirmation from members of the U.S. Senate. And the drug czar oversees a $44 billion budget. Again, no formal experience in drug policy or public health. What has Sarah said about the marijuanas? Oh yes, as a reporter, Carter investigated the role of foreign drug trafficking organizations in the illicit marijuana trade. Privately, she has expressed support for patients' use of medical cannabis and once acknowledged, quote, "I don't have any problem if it's legalized and monitored. I'm not saying we've got to make it illegal." Anyhow, I'm just going to show that comment while I read the rest of this. Anyhow, read more about that in the NORML website. Hey, Marco in Arizona, thanks for joining us. I'm sorry, Instagram, you don't get links to the blogs or the news stories, but you can find them all at normal.org. You will see the blogs on the front page, and then you will see news under the news tab. Also, you can get all of this delivered straight to your inbox every week. Thursdays is NORML News of the Week, comes out at about 4:20 Eastern because we're funny. And then NORML's Weekend Weed Read delivers every Saturday morning about 9 a.m. Eastern. You can get all of these emails delivered right to you if you go to normal.org/subscribe. Make sure you check the Weekend Weed Read box so you always get the Saturday edition as well. Hello, NORML France, for joining the live. Good to see you here. Hi, John. Good to see you. Other John says we are still cultivating 12 per household in Ohio until something changes. Yeah, you got some crazy stuff going on in Ohio, as of course you well know, John. So make sure you are sharing the action alerts for Ohio with your colleagues. Hey, Dennis. Dennis asks if we have any news from North Carolina. And I can tell you that there is still only one bill that we're tracking in North Carolina. This is H413, called the Marijuana Legalization and Reinvestment Act. Let me grab you the action alert link for that, Dennis. Dennis, only 994 constituent emails have been sent in support of House Bill 413. That's surprising. So I see it's trying to post. It says it didn't post to Facebook. Let me know if it did and you could see it. If not, I'll try again. We'll just try again right now and see if it works. Looks like it posted this time. Chad, hey Chad says, too bad other states can't join your fight. Well, Chad, maybe you know people in the state that you're concerned about, and you could share the action alert with them, or maybe there's an action alert for your state. Check that out at norml.org/act. So you know. John says, it sure seems like they all want to push it to big pharma to control. I mean, who wants to do that? Tell me. Tell me what makes you think that, the who and the why, aside from something that Representative Congressman Ben Klein said today. Aside from that, tell me what makes you think that. Ellie, I see your comment. That's a real question too. I'm not being snide. I really want to know what makes you think that, John. Hey, people that just joined us on Instagram, welcome. All right. Thank you, John, for being more specific. You were talking about your state. John says all the state officials, most likely because they have no clue nor are educated enough to get involved. That's accurate. So here's the thing. I was sharing some information with a colleague today that needed to share something with a member on the Hill, Capitol Hill in DC. And we talked a lot about the difference between descheduling and rescheduling. These are two different processes, what's underway and what that means. And there is no process in place right now that hands marijuana over to big pharma. If we're concerned about, pharmaceuticalized cannabinoids being available at CVS, they already are. There are FDA-approved drugs that contain THC. The brand name is Marinol. The synthetic name, or the generic name is dronabinol. It's 100% pure synthetic THC in sesame oil in a little brown capsule. It's available by prescription today. It's not generally pleasant for patients because it is just THC. So it's not commonly prescribed. It's approved for nausea and wasting syndrome, severe nausea and wasting syndrome. Anyhow, and then Epidiolex is an FDA-approved drug that is botanically derived, cannabidiol. There's a third prescription drug that is commonly prescribed in everywhere except for the United States, which is like Epidiolex. It's from the same manufacturer. It's called Sativex, and that contains THC and CBD. It is not available in the US. It is available in many other countries. Anyhow, so pharmaceuticalized cannabinoids are already a thing. The FDA does not regulate plants, so it is not anywhere within the realm of reality. Let's say rescheduling occurs tomorrow. It's not going to, but let's say it did. Not that it's not going to occur. It's not going to occur tomorrow. You're not going to go get pre-rolls at Walgreens because the FDA does not regulate plants. And plants do not fit the regulatory system that is in place for FDA to approve prescription drugs. Yeah, Ryan, I'm pretty certain that it's sesame oil. in the Marinol capsules. Hey, November, thank you. November says Advocacy Day in Sacramento was a blast with the NORML fam. California NORML hosted a lobby day. Their primary bill was about reducing taxes. And I think it was very well attended. It's great. There's a lot of good media coverage from that. I don't know what that means, Michael. Chad, you're welcome. Hey, Brian, I see you. Just saying hi. All right, let's look at, oh, it's my favorite time of day when Google signs me out of the script in the middle of the show. I love that so much, Google. Thanks, super helpful. Here we go. So we talked about drug czar. Good news. Good news first. Ohio's governor, Republican governor, Mike DeWine, proposed increasing taxes. It proposed doubling marijuana sales tax in the budget bill. And Ohio's House lawmakers were like, nah, we're going to pass on that. Thanks. So thank you, Ohio House lawmakers, for nixing the governor's proposal to double marijuana sales taxes. Yeah, I know, it cuts off the link in YouTube. I hate that. I don't want to post this like 75 times. Here's the link again. YouTube. All right, now, meanwhile, in Maryland, we have an entirely different situation that occurs. In Maryland, there had been a proposal to increase sales tax, and they agreed. They still increased sales taxes. Lawmakers approved the hike in sales tax in their budget bill. They did decrease the amount of the increase. It's still increasing from 9% to 12%, which is a 25% increase. It's a pretty substantial increase in taxes. That's to begin in 2027 in Maryland. I should have filled that up before I started. Hey, Brooklyn, you're waiting on Wisconsin? A lot of people are. It's almost like elections have consequences. Hey, Michael, I see your, okay, let me scroll up here a little bit. Chad asked, how can states reverse the ballot initiative? So they can't reverse it, but what we have seen in multiple states this year, and we saw it last year as well, they were just far more emboldened this year. I'm not going to look away while I pour iced tea over my lap. We've seen this in a number of states where they attempted to roll back legalization laws. They attempted to roll back medical cannabis access laws. This happened in multiple states. The way that they do it is voters say, hey, this is a thing, and we want this thing, and we vote for it, and then it's approved by voters. And then lawmakers will not like that, and they want to undermine the will of the voters. So they'll introduce legislation that guts what voters just approved. That's how they do it. Michael, I'm just like your comment, so I'm going to show it. Michael, you're welcome, first of all. Michael says, Dear Virginians, let's elect a cannabis-friendly governor, Abigail Spanberger. Remember, elections have consequences. You are correct, they do. They certainly do. Steve, I think that Steve says Steve asks, is it alcohol and pharma lobbyist money keeping all this confusing installed? No, I am not of the opinion that it is. More often than not, it is, look, prohibition has been lucrative for decades. There are a lot of systems in place that capitalize on criminalization. And it is largely those structures that lobby to maintain criminalization in multiple forms. So, in Virginia, we talk about the prohibitionist in charge. We talk about him having vetoed a number of bills that passed with bipartisan support related to cannabis. We talk about this as having prioritized personal politics. So there's certainly a lot of that happens where someone's like, well, I don't care that you pass this, I'm going to veto it because I personally don't agree with it. But if you dig deeper to see why they don't personally agree with it, oftentimes it is because they benefit from maintaining prohibition to whatever degree because their largest supporters favor that policy that they are able to capitalize on. So law enforcement organizations, urine testing organizations, those are right up there at the top of the list. And we've seen some minor involvement from alcohol and a pharmaceutical company a few years back, but it's not, the opposition on a larger scale is from those law enforcement dependent, and drug testing entities. Okay. And now apparently alcohol in a number of states is trying to move on intoxicating THC beverages, right? Where'd that THC come from? Is it properly regulated? Who knows? But it's in beverages, it's in alcoholic beverages, it's in non-alcoholic beverages, and the alcohol industry wants to capitalize on that. They want to take control of those THC containing beverages, which is weird. I mean, not unexpected, but hey, to the Daily Bud. You can hear me live streaming almost every Friday at about 4 o'clock Eastern. Also, since you mentioned it, and you are in New York, I wish I had that link here, and I don't. I'm getting there. I wasn't prepared for this. There we go. There is an expo coming up in June 4th and 5th in New York at Javits Convention Center. It's called Cannabis Means Business. It was previously called CWCB Expo, but now it's the Cannabis Means Business Conference and Expo, June 4th and 5th, Javits in Manhattan. And do you want a free expo pass? Because I can get you a free expo pass. I can also give you 30% off of a full conference pass. So you're just going to go to the registration page and you're going to put in this code. I'm putting it in the chat for you. Everyone on Instagram, listen up. It's cannabismeansbusiness.com. And the code is NORML25, NORML 25. There you go. That's going to get you a free expo pass to Cannabis Means Business. Or if you want to buy the full pass, you can save 30% off. You're welcome. Come see me there. Hey, everyone that just joined us on Instagram. including my friend Jenny. I see you. What's up, Jenny? I'm gonna put those on the. Is that June? I'll put that on here so I don't forget it next time. Okay. See what other things we have to talk about. So we talked about ONDCP, we talked about Ohio and Maryland. More good news, Brazil. Brazil, welcome to the club. Welcome to the Cool Kids Club, Brazil. So Brazil's Supreme Federal Court ruled that Brazilian adults may possess up to 40 grams of cannabis and may cultivate at home up to 6 plants for personal use without the threat of arrest or incarceration. So, high five, Brazil. Doing it right. Let me see, did I get it all in there? Yes. Hey, Sean, I see your comments. I'm not sure what state you're talking about, Sean. Or are you just commenting on my prohibition rant? Hey, Keenan. Keenan's on Instagram and asks if there's anything new in Indiana. Keenan. Let's look together, shall we? There's one bill in Indiana. And we're just monitoring it. We don't have an action on it. So that's what's going on in Indiana. In Indiana, there is HB 1119. It's about operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated. And this bill would define, quote, qualified test. It specifies that a law enforcement officer may not arrest a person solely because the person tested positive on a qualified test. It looks like this. Oh, it looks like this is fluid tests. So the bill modifies Indiana's law regarding operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, primarily focusing on establishing new standards for detecting drug impairment. Specifically, the bill introduces a qualified test definition, which refers to oral fluid tests performed by specific devices. And then it lists the 2 devices, the Draeger Drug Test 5000 or the Sotoxa Oral Fluid Mobile Test System, and changes how THC intoxication is determined. Instead of the current law that considers any measurable amount of THC in the blood as a violation, the bill now sets a threshold of at least 5 nanograms of THC in a person's saliva as evidence of intoxication. Presence of THC or THC metabolites in body fluids alone is not indicative of impairment. This is science. This is determined. This isn't my opinion. And I see why we're monitoring it. So the bill also removes the consideration of metabolites from controlled substances as evidence of in Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 as an element of the offense. It does other things. Like, it's good and it's bad. So that's what's happening in Indiana. Keep your eye. We do have that on the map. We don't have an action alert for it. But it's out there, and there's a potential new amendment to it, but I can't see the potential new amendment. That's not showing for me. That's what's going on in Indiana, Keenan. Make sure you are connected with Indiana NORML, one of our oldest chapters. They've been around for over 50 years. Brian, I don't disagree with you on this one. Brian says, our government has also convinced everyone that hemp and marijuana are different, creating a divided front. Yes, someone did in fact pull the wool over good old Mitch's eyes and got that 0.3% by dry weight codified in federal law, and then states interpreted that however they want. So now we have two different silos, as you well know, Brian. Let me just catch up here on the comments. Thank you, Sean, for qualifying that you were talking about Virginia. And I've heard this a few times this week, and it's a narrative that you can help put to rest. There's no effort when it comes to adult use retail sales in Virginia. There is no effort to preclude small businesses from participating. In fact, the bills you have seen have gotten better when it comes to tiers, and the bill that you see in 26 will be even better when it comes to licensing tiers. There is a genuine effort, a genuine bipartisan desire in Virginia to create a licensing structure for adult use that allows small businesses to have low barriers to entry and the ability to have multiple licenses while requiring larger fees for larger businesses and limiting the number of licenses larger businesses can have. So this is real. This is not my opinion. You can read it in like 5 years of legislation are available for you to read about this. And it gets progressively better. That's one thing that does get better in the adult use retail sales bills. So I say that with all sincerity. There is zero effort in Virginia from anyone to make it difficult for small businesses to enter the regulated marketplace. Whenever that happens, whenever we get a governor who signs that bill, right? Also, zero effort, zero interest, whatever, like David James and I talked about this a few times. There is no desire from the people who are going to write next year's bill to carry over that, whatever that tax was. It was tried to, like, the more I think about it, I can understand how it got in there. But these bills were always headed for veto, so did anyone care? There was a paraphernalia tax. We don't need to have that in next year's bill. Hey, John. You know, John, we actually had an article about this last week, but I didn't do a show because I had to do other things. So let me see if I can grab that for you real quick. John asks, if legal states started funding cannabis research, who would be their considerations for said research? I mean, it's going to depend on the legislation for each state and what each state specifies. You can do whatever you want in your state, like your state can decide. So here's the thing. Fewer than 1/3 of legal cannabis states have appropriated funding for cannabis research. I'm dropping the link to the article in there in the chat for you right now. A team of investigators headed by the University of California reviewed state-level funding opportunities for cannabis-related research. They reported that 17 states have adopted legislation providing funding mechanisms for research. However, to date, only 12 of those states have actually allocated funding for marijuana-related research projects. The study authors go on to say that this lack of investment is a missed opportunity for states to foster research about the impact of legalization and to increase understanding of the risks and benefits of cannabis use within their state. There is also a missed opportunity for collaborations between researchers and cannabis regulators to inform legislative discussions and develop future evidence-based cannabis laws. You know, exactly what we advocate for here at NORML. So check that out. And if your state doesn't, even if it does, it's legislation. You just legislate. My partner would say, "Oh, you don't just." Some people don't just legislate, but listen, that's not their voice. Sorry. I know I say that very offhandedly, like you just legislate, but that's what you do. You get a bill patron to introduce a bill to outline what that funding would look like. Research and funding would look like. Maybe you already have it codified and you want to change it. You can do that. Find a bill patron, bill sponsor. Hey, everyone who just joined us on Instagram. Keenan, I didn't look too enthusiastic about that. I mean, it was something. Oh, good grief. All right. Hey, Brian. Welcome back. Other Brian. Yeah, yes, John, some states do it through universities. That's pretty common. All right, Billy, let's read your question without reviewing it. Billy asks, I have a question about distribution. Is there any movement to remove the illegality of sharing cannabis in legal adult use states? Yes, in fact, some have done that, like Virginia. I would venture to say, Billy goes on to say, I would venture to say many of us are in violation of the law by sharing or passing a joint, while technically it is still legal. Okay. Yes. So again, legislative, right? If it's illegal to share cannabis with other adults in your state, legislate that change. In Virginia, we use very specific language. We define it as adult sharing, and it is in code clarified that adult sharing means literally that just giving someone, you can give someone up to an ounce of marijuana. There can't be any reciprocal transaction. There can't be any exchange of goods or services. So you can't say, mow my lawn and I'll give you an ounce of weed. You can't say, buy this sticker and I'll give you an ounce of weed. You can't do that. That's illegal. But you can just have your neighbor over and give them cannabis if you want for fun. Like when you have your neighbor over and maybe like share a bottle of wine or some beer or whatever. Same rule applies for cannabis in this state. And I know other states have similar laws on the books. If yours doesn't, please change that. Reach out to us for help. Browdy, I'm sorry that you're late as well. Some people have these things called jobs. I have one. I'm doing it right now. Anything out of Georgia, says Brady? Let's look and see. In Georgia, we're tracking 3 bills. I bet they're the same ones we were tracking before. But let's talk about it. There's HB 41, which is a penalty reduction bill. It was introduced and it's just sitting there, it looks like. Then we have HB 227, which is called Putting Georgia's Patients First Act. It's a medical cannabis bill. And then we have in Georgia, the third bill is SB 220, which is the Senate cognate of the House bill, also called Putting Georgia's Patients First Act. So you know what to do, Brady. Head right over to our NORML Take Action Center and send those bills. I can't even with this, Brady. Listen, only 3, I hope this isn't new, because only 3 constituent emails have been sent in support of House Bill 227 and Senate Bill 220 in Georgia. I'm relying on you to fix that, buddy. Get on it. Let's see about the penalty reduction bill. The penalty reduction bill, only 63 letters have been sent. Georgia, what are you doing? I'm sharing that link in the comments for you as well. What is... Okay, let's see how that goes. I'm sure Samuel and Brady are going to keep an eye on whoever just joined the chat and is questionable. All right. Oh, okay. Yes, it's almost 17 minutes till the next 420. I'm on the East Coast, so it's not going to be 420 here again. Yes, Brady, you keep an eye on that and tell me if it's gross. Hey, Adam, I see your comment on Instagram. Adam says, oh, federally. Okay. Yes, Brian's Adam says, I just heard about legislation that's been introduced to keep marijuana from being to keep federal tax code 280E from being amended if rescheduling happens. Adam, this is why every time I talk about rescheduling, I say that rescheduling has the potential to allow state legal cannabis businesses to begin taking tax deductions because of antics like this, because of lawmakers wanting to maintain prohibition at all costs, and that's a form of it. Is a bill like that going to pass? I don't think it's likely, but keeping our eye on it. But these, are you talking about this? These are ceramics. This is a rabbit. This is from a vendor at one of our conferences, and they made really nice ceramics. So they're here. Okay, I don't know what statues you're talking about. I don't have any statues behind me other than those. Okay, whatever. Oh, Adam, thank you. Adam says this was in regard to the Virginia sales / gifting status. Yeah, adult sharing is the law of the land in Virginia. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to change. There was part of the original legislation that we passed in 2021. I worked specifically on that language with the Office of the Attorney General to make sure that it was codified correctly. So I don't think we need to worry about. What you need to worry about in Virginia is the November election. If you want to see adult use retail sales, you have to vote for a governor who will sign that bill. So let's do that. I will not be doing that, Samuel, but thanks so much. I literally just took them out of the bag and put them up there, which I guess you can't really see unless you zoom or whatever. There they are. There's a whole thing going on back here now after you all asking about the books last time, and apparently you need background items to look at. Brian, you're just gonna slap him. That's it. Just slap him. Oh. It's something, Adam. Look, Adam, I am super happy that adults in Virginia have the ability to cultivate plants at home. They have the ability to share without remuneration or reciprocal transactions with their other adult friends. That is language that I focused heavily on in the initial legislation. And you got to protect that. And that means voting for someone who's not crazy. Next up, I'm going to leave that one for the end. I want to get these in real quick because it's getting late. But 2 science stories to share with you. So this one is about vaporized cannabis in MS patients, multiple sclerosis patients. And that reminds me, Tamara, you asked a question, I'm going to answer it. Sorry, it got buried in all the other Virginia things. This is one of those stories where you go, yeah, of course. These study authors noted significant improvement was observed across all outcome assessments following patients' use of vaporized medical cannabis. So check that out. Talk some trash about Texas. Brian, there's literally nothing to talk about Texas other than trash. Texas should be focused on expanding medical cannabis access. Last science story for you all for the week is about autism. And again, this is very commonly researched when it comes to cannabis. And this is a systematic review that was done, and these researchers conclude that cannabis extracts are effective and safe in pediatric patients with autism. Another one of those where you're like, yeah, we've seen this before. You sure have, and you can see it again. In particular, this is about CBD dominant extracts, CBD rich formulations for kids with autism. Adam, I see your comment. Adam asks, I noticed many are going to synthetic Delta 9. Are they jumping ship too soon? And I know, Adam, you're talking about Virginia. So synthetics are prohibited in Virginia. Does that mean people aren't selling them? No, but under state law in Virginia, they are not legal. And that is for products that are intended to be consumed orally or by inhalation. And it doesn't matter what label you slap on it, made up or otherwise. In Virginia calculates total THC, which includes all kinds of isomers and variants. So I will also say this, the fact that a cannabinoid is synthesized, right, made through a synthesis process, went through a change, was the one thing, and then changed through synthesis into another, that's what makes it called, that's why it's called synthetic. This is not like we're talking about paper or plastic. And this isn't for you, Adam, this is for people just generally. Because people have to say, well, it's not synthetic, it's made from blah, blah, blah. Okay, it went through a synthesis. Therefore, it is a synthetic. Well, it's a semi-synthetic. It doesn't matter. It's still synthetic. It still went through a synthesis process. The problem with cannabinoids that have been synthesized is not that they have been synthesized. It is the process through which they have been synthesized. And that these are not regulated operators who are making them more often than not. So you don't know what else is in there. Did they remediate the product before they sprayed it on the flower or squirted it into the vape pen? You don't know. What's in there? You don't know. That's what poses health risks to consumers. Caveat, THCO and THCP is just a hard no. Don't put that stuff in your body. That's gross. Those are pro-drugs, and they're not well researched. Hey, wise guy on Instagram, I agree with your comment, and fortunately, the governor of Virginia cannot run for consecutive terms, so he's not on the ballot. However, the lieutenant governor, his current lieutenant governor, will be the Republican nominee, and Amanda Chase might qualify for the ballot, and there might be a primary, a Republican primary. We don't know yet. They haven't counted. RPV hasn't counted her votes yet. She did turn them in yesterday, though. And then the Democratic candidate will be Abigail Spanberger. Abigail Spanberger gets an A from NORML. Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears gets an F. Choose wisely, Virginia. see your comment. In Colorado, a few companies have been caught doing conversions. A bunch of brands are trying to switch to D9 because of the state of the markets. I don't know. It depends on it's all about what the laws are in your state and what you can get away with for, like, is it legal or can you get away with it, are two entirely different questions. Okay, I did all those. I have one last story for you. I'm going to tell you what events are coming up, and then I got to go. If you did not get this email in your inbox this week, it's because you're not subscribed to NORML News, and you need to be. Because you need to know that prohibitionists across the country, in Democrat-controlled states and Republican-controlled states, prohibitionists across the country are pushing for recriminalization. NORML is pushing back. We have already won and defeated some really terrible legislation in a number of states. But there's a lot out there. We are tracking, let me tell you, 118 bills. We're tracking 118 marijuana-related bills right now in our Take Action Center. And a lot of them are terrible. There's a big old list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There's at least 20 bills that we are opposing. This takes a lot of work. There are 3 full-time staffers at NORML. And we want to have your backs, and we want you to help us have your backs. Please and thank you. The battle for cannabis freedom is ongoing, and despite growing public support for legalization, there does remain a powerful, a vocal minority that's really intent on maintaining the failed policy of criminalization. Every time they push, we push back harder. In recent weeks, we've defeated legislation challenging adult use and medical cannabis access in Colorado, in Montana, and in South Dakota. We're actively fighting efforts in Ohio to roll back the voter-approved legalization law. In states like California, Maryland, Michigan, and New Jersey, we're also pushing back against efforts to raise taxes on marijuana consumers. And in New York and Connecticut, we're fighting back against the new prohibitionist tactic of banning consumers and patients' access to so-called high THC products. Look, in these states and others, it is NORML who is there fighting to ensure that consumers no longer face discrimination or the threat of criminalization. We worked too hard and for too long for the gains that we've achieved. We are not backing down now. So if you haven't joined NORML yet, today is the day, my friend. NORML.org/join. These past months have illustrated that our political opponents haven't gone away. They've regrouped. Nonetheless, with your help, we will continue to turn back their efforts. So make sure you're with us. Make sure you're donating to NORML. Make sure you've joined NORML for 2025, because freedom isn't free. But by supporting NORML, you can ensure that cannabis consumers continue to have their voice represented by a powerful ally in state houses across the nation. Let's do it. Let's do this. Thank you, Chris. Oh, Samuel, thank you. Samuel says, I get it because I signed up and I'm a member. Let's go. Join JM and the team at NORML. Yes, let's. We don't do that. We don't do those comments on our live streams, so yuck. Pratty, I don't even know what that was about. Okay, that's all right. There's a lot happening there. We did it. I want to tell you about a couple of events coming up tomorrow's April 5th. And if you are, let's see that, Brady. If you are in Virginia, you might want to scoot on down to the Hampton Wine and Spirit Expo because Tamara Netzel, who is a director at Virginia NORML, will be there with her project called Cruel Consequences, Portraits of Misguided Law, and we'll have some NORML information with her at her booth. This is at the Hampton Roads Convention Center. Again, it's tomorrow, Saturday, April 5th, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Link in the, I don't know what the hell is going on there. Link is in the chat. Hampton Wine and Spirit Expo. Now, coming up toward the end of the month, I have two pretty big events to tell you about. We have Missouri NORML hosting their spring conference. They do a conference in the fall and a conference in the spring. You can stream it live on Facebook. It's April 26th from 1 to 6 p.m. Central Time. And then on April 28th is the National Cannabis Policy Summit. This starts at 8:45 in the morning and goes till 5 o'clock Eastern Time. It's at the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Library in Washington, D.C. This is a free event. Free. Free is for me. So sign up on the link in the chat. For those of you on Instagram, you can go to nationalcannabisfestival.com and then click on Summit. You'll see that in the drop down. I'll be there. Morgan will be there. So come see us at the National Cannabis Policy Summit. Coming up in July is the National Cannabis Festival. What? Okay, this is gross. Okay, we're not doing that. Sorry. National Cannabis Festival, Washington, D.C. It is a 2-day festival this year, July 18th and 19th. It will be at the RFK Festival Grounds and Lot 8 at RFK Stadium. You can get tickets at nationalcannabisfestival.com. This event sells out pretty regularly. So if you want to go, get your tickets now. And coming up in December, I know that's a hot minute away from now, but I want you to mark your calendars. The 2025 NORML Key West Legal Seminar is December 4 through 6. It's a fully accredited legal seminar. So if you need continuing legal education credits, we got you. Whatever state you're in, fully accredited. We're at a new hotel this year. We're at Hyatt Centric. So come hang out with myself and Keith and Paul in Key West. Get your CLEs. You don't have to be an attorney to come. In fact, if you're not an attorney, we have a discounted rate for you. You can check all of that out at norml.org/Key West. Brian, you're just everywhere. Nick, hush. And then I should have put this. I should have typed this all out earlier. And then I told you a little bit. I can't talk and type this. I told you a little bit earlier about the Cannabis Means Business Expo in New York. This is June 4th and 5th. And you can get a free expo pass from me right now. I'm going to put all of that in the chat for you right now, unless you're on Instagram, and then just listen up. I'm going to tell you. Cannabis Means Business Expo and Conference, June 4th and 5th at the Javits Center in New York. cannabismeansbusiness.com is the site you're going to go to register. And if you want a free expo pass, you are going to use code NORML25. Free expo pass, code NORML25, NORML 25. If you want to buy the big conference pass, get 30% off with NORML25. So there you go. Take that. Those are all the events. We did all the things. This has been great. Okay, I can't look at whatever's going on there. This has been great. I try to do this show every Friday at about 4 o'clock Eastern. So go ahead and hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live. I'm J.M. Padini. I'm the Development Director here at the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. It's been a blast hanging out with you all. I'd love to see you again, and hopefully I'll see you right back here next time. Bye-bye.